Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the World Explorer podcast. This is the podcast where every week we take a random prompt and build an entire world around it. My name is Casey, and I'm joined with Isaac.
Hello there! So today I am very excited to share with you guys and with Casey, because she hasn't seen these yet, some more AI art. And before, what we have done with the AI art is we just told the AI, make us some fantasy creatures, and it would give us these very strange outputs, and they were always like very unique. And sometimes they were kind of wonky because AI art be that way, and they would have like weird proportions and legs and stuff, but we integrated those into the world. This time around, I decided to try and make something more specific with the AI, because I've been getting better and better at actually guiding the AI, and so now I'm at a point where I can actually get a specific type of creature that does not exist to be outputted from the AI on repeat. So I can give it the same prompt and it'll give the exact same creature each time. And so what I have created...
Oh, oh, she's so pretty!
Yes, this is what I have created. It is a deer crossed with a wolf with a fiery red mane.
She's so cute. Ooh, that one's fun.
Yeah, I had two different styles that I was getting it to output. One is a more serious, like epic fantasy sort of style, where you can see it maybe as more of a wild animal, and the other one seems more personified, and it seems more like it has sentience and sapience than the other one does. It seems like one is more like a wild animal, the other one's more like a main character.
I love the one with the crown.
Yeah, I don't know why that one ended up in there. Like, I did not tell it to give her a crown, but she's got a crown. That is the AI taking a little bit of creative liberty.
A little leafy crown. It's a very pretty crown.
It is. But yeah,
she looks a little young to be ruling the forest.
Maybe she's a princess.
That's it. She's the princess of the forest.
Anyway, this is what I wanted to world build, because I had the idea of the creature in mind, and this is like practically exactly what I wanted. And I got the AI to consistently create a bunch of images like this. And again, I had the creature in mind, but I didn't have anything else in mind in terms of like what it could do, what it symbolized, where exactly it lived other than a forest, what it ate. Because deer are vegetarians, wolves are carnivorous.
So now we have an omnivore. Ooh. Like a squirrel, it eats both.
Yes. Yeah, fun fact, squirrels are apparently omnivores. They will eat meat.
They eat chipmunks.
Yeah, that's a thing they do.
My little brother is now traumatized. It's fine.
Anyway, so where do we want to start with world building this creature? Do we want to start with a name?
I was hoping we'd just avoid that the entire time. You just wouldn't bring it up and we could just move on through life without names.
I feel like we gotta come up with a name for it. It seems too specific of a creature to not have a name. We might come back to it later, because we're not good at names. Anyway,
I love the sparkly coat versions.
Yeah, that one, that actually is in most of the artwork that it put out. The only one that doesn't is the white one where she's got the crown. Which
could be an interesting dynamic. Like, either she's too young to get, like, the glitter comes with age, because the others definitely look a lot older. So when they're young, they stay white, so that way they blend in. But then as they're older and they come into their power, they get their glitter, because now it's a symbol of stay away, I can hurt you.
I have a bit of a maybe strange idea. What if this glitter was tied to constellations?
What do you mean? Elaborate.
I'm thinking, what if they had magical abilities that were linked to constellations? And I'm having a few ideas running through my head on how this could work. You could have like the ancestors of these creatures. When they die, they become constellations, and then as they're constellations, they send power to the creatures, and then these creatures have those constellations form on their bodies when they go to use their magic.
So we have connections to ancestors, and so they're like normally white or But then when they use their magic, the like gold glitter appears.
Maybe. I wasn't thinking like maybe they're normally white. Maybe it's just this one happened to be white.
Is that why she's royalty?
Yeah, let's go with that. She's royalty because she's white. That's
sorry. I just want you to think about what you just said.
I heard it. I regret nothing. I regret nothing at all.
Anyways.
Okay, she's royalty because she's eggshell. How about that?
Yeah, that's so much better.
Anyway, so
how do we recover from that?
So constellations.
I don't know, it's just not giving me like constellation vibes. It feels very much sunlight based more so than star based.
That makes sense. I think I told it to told the AI to give like rim lighting and have a golden sunset.
It took it to a new level.
Yeah, I told it golden sunset and rim lighting, and you know, and I think I used the word intricate lighting in the prompt, and I used a lot of lighting prompts in there to get it to look like this. Like the prompt was very long.
I bet, but it looks very fire-like, and more so than it doesn't give nighttime vibes. Like these are definitely creatures of the day.
Yes, like I told it fiery red mane, like that was the description I gave. But yeah, that's actually interesting that they would be day creatures now that you mention it, because both deer and wolves often tend to come out at night, or at least like at sunset or dawn. Like, not to say they don't come out in the day, but they often come out at night.
That's true, but these guys, they look like they like sunlight better.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the golden glow, the orange, and the brown like colors, the white fur, like definitely screams sunlight.
And it also looks like they can blend in day, like just the colors of like the young one. So if we do go with that, they grow into the orange. They start white. They're born white and grow into the orange. I feel like it's a lot more camouflaged in the day, maybe even in the night with the brighter colors.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at these pictures, you've got the one that's all white. That definitely looks like the youngest. Then the next youngest has a bit more brown on her. And then you've got the two older ones, which are mostly brown, but they have that little bit of white still on their chest and their neck.
I definitely think it's less royalty. You're royal if you're white. And more, you start white and then you age into the sparkly camouflage thing. Like it's easier to hide if you're the lighter colors are easier to hide than the glitter, which means that as they're older, there's got to be a reason why they don't have to hide anymore. They have something to fight predators off with or scare predators off with.
I mean, for starters, they have massive antlers. They also have claws and teeth like wolves. Like they have all of the combat capabilities of both a wolf and a deer.
It's a very terrifying combo.
Yeah, like a deer. Like, we tend to often think deer as like peaceful creatures, but a doe kicking you in the face or a buck running at you with its antlers will mess you up.
I lost a car to a deer. They're not peaceful creatures in my mind anymore.
That's fair. But yeah, like the thing is, the AI did seem to flip-flop sometimes on the feet and the hooves. Like sometimes it would give them all hooves, sometimes some would be hooves, some would be paws. I think that I like the idea best if the front ones are paws and the back are hooves, because then to me that gives it like the claw abilities. Like it uses its front paws with like claws and is able to use them as weapons, and then it has the power and the kick and the thrust to be able to launch stuff forward and jump high like a deer if the deer legs are in the back.
Yeah, that would make sense. I can follow with that.
Yeah, so that is like what we're calling the canonical version of this, because it does vary a little bit between the artwork.
I also like how it seems that the eyes, like that also changes with age. Like it also starts to glow with age. So the two older ones, their eyes are definitely glowing more than the two younger ones.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I think would be an interesting thing to draw on. It's almost as if like they're collecting sunlight over age.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
And that's what's changing their colors and stuff.
They absorb sunlight, and that's what causes them to start to glow. And okay.
So you could have an adult one of these that's pure white, but that means that they've never been exposed to sunlight. Which, I don't know, that could be an interesting idea if you want to go back to like the royalty aspect, is this idea that the royalty has to be sheltered from all the dangers of the world, so that way they can rule properly, and because of that they don't get exposed to sunlight. And therefore they're seen as special and set apart.
That is an interesting idea. But now I have like two questions. One is the sun magic? And two, do these guys have fire magic?
Like, can they release it? They build it up and it doesn't just affect their form, that also gives them defense abilities. And what happens if they do have that? Like, what would happen if they released it? Do they then start fading back to white?
I was wondering that. Do they fade back to white, or is it a strength matter? I feel like maybe they would fade back to white, or here's an idea. What if as they get older, they begin to gain a higher capacity for magic and for sunlight? And so when they're younger, the reason they're white is because their capacity for magic is so low, and they can barely hold any sunlight, so they don't change color. But then as they get older, their capacity grows, and they're able to actually absorb more sunlight, and then it change color. But then once they release it, they go back to white, but then they will pretty quickly, like within 24 hours, go back to their normal color because they've absorbed more sunlight.
There could also be the concept that the sun stains their coat, so like they keep the yellow-orange as they age,
but they lose the sparkles.
Like the amount of sparkle and
like
the glow
idea. Yes.
Is what goes. Yeah, so that way you still have the age, like color still represents age, but power level is represented by how much they're glowing and sparkling.
Yes, I like that idea better.
So if their eyes are blazing, can they overcharge? Like, is there moments where they just have to go out into a field and just burn something down? Because they're just building up so much.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know.
Because that could be another reason why, like, a royal one would be kept away from the sunlight, was because they don't want to risk the overcharging.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I don't know. I guess we'll go with that. I see no reason not to. That's a fun little addition. Like, they can overcharge, so they have to go and release it. Now, I have a question. This would probably not really ever happen like normally, because they're out in the wild and everything. They can go wherever they want. But if they were, like, say, captured and in a confined space where they don't want to release it, what would happen if they did not release it and they continued to overcharge? What happens to the creature?
I think one of the first things that happens is probably like a sun blindness, in the sense that there's so much, because their eyes seem to be really greatly affected, that they start losing sight. So they start going blind. Probably happens pretty fast. It's probably the first sign. Early sign is losing sight. They kind of just burn to death from the inside.
That is horrifying.
Like, it starts bleeding inside. It does sound pretty horrifying. It's not a pleasant way to go.
Yeah, and chances are they would never go that way, because they would just release it. They're going to have to worry about not being able to release it. The only time that they would have to worry about that is like if they're in a confined space with another person that they don't want to hurt or something like that, and they're trapped, then
Could you imagine that? Like, imagine like just a horrible person taking like a mother and child of these and putting them in a very confined space exposed to the sunlight, and just watching the mother overheat herself because she doesn't want to kill her child and has to like choose between burning internally or killing her child.
Yeah, this is horrifying.
I just think that is an interesting start of getting a character with trauma early on.
Yeah.
Just say, like, there you go. There's your main character, how they lost the parent, that traumatic first intro chapter.
Or it could be a Lancer character, and she very much keeps to herself. She's high tempered and a bit of a grump and bitter. And then someone asks, "What is your problem?" And then it all roots back to that day her mother sacrificed herself in this horrific manner in front of her eyes.
Because I'm sure it's not pretty to watch.
It'd be pretty to watch.
No, I said it's not pretty to watch.
Okay, I was gonna say, what's your idea of pretty?
No, I said not pretty to watch. No, there's nothing pretty about watching someone melt from the inside.
Yeah, thing is, I am trying to think of how they could expose. You know, the only type of cage I could think of that would hold them in a confined way that they can't release any fire would be something with solid walls. Maybe like something with solid, strong walls, like stone walls or metal walls or something, with a high glass ceiling, like high enough that they can't break up and jump up and break it.
I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, it would be a very very difficult thing to build. It'd have to be built in such a specific way to be able to intentionally cause one of these things to overheat.
Yeah.
Like you would have to specifically want them to overheat, which I'm trying to figure out. Why would you want it to overheat?
Maybe it is a pretty thing, like in the sense that it's a like a firework display or something along that line. Like it's seen as very pretty by whoever's doing this, and they pay a lot of money to put on a show to see one die, for lack of a better word.
I mean, I can't imagine it being like a fireworks display, because I imagine she would go out with like a very small whimper and whatever, like go out with a whimper instead of a bang, because otherwise that would also kill her child.
I guess there's got to be like some, and I think it has to be like the death in itself is, for lack of a better word, like a beautiful sight to behold, to convince someone so that way someone would want to capture and torture and charge for people to see it happen.
What if sunlight sparkles filled the room?
Possibly. Yeah, they just like dissolve into sparkles instead of fire.
And then it fills the room, and everyone's in awe.
What if it's like almost like a drug or something too, like something that like boosts people happiness when you breathe it in, like it gives feelings of happiness?
Oh, I just thought about something.
Yeah?
Okay, so dark plot and world building element that I've just thought about. So we're in a world that is filled with bitter people who do not believe that there is any way. Oh no, I realized something. Okay, so I'm going to explain what my first thought to you. So my first thought was, we're in a world where everyone is very unhappy, and the only way they believe they can be happy is through the magic of these creatures and watching them die. But then you know what I realized as I was coming up with this? This is the same plot of Trolls.
Is it?
Yes! Because in Trolls...
I've never watched Trolls.
Okay, so in Trolls, there were these creatures. I don't remember what they were called, but they're these ugly, evil creatures that are all very unhappy, and the only way that they can possibly be happy is if they eat trolls. And I'm just sitting here like, this is the same plot of Trolls.
Isn't that a kids movie?
This is a kids movie. It's a very dumb kids movie, and it's a kids movie.
Wow. Okay then. To be fair, I was coming up with that without having seen the movie, so I like to say that it was separate.
Yeah, it's separate, but it's the same plot. Just the fact that it's the same plot makes me not want to do it, but at the same time, I'm like, it's not a bad idea. Trolls actually had something going for them there.
I think it's an interesting idea to the concept of watching a creature die, and like the particle effects that come from it being something that's gives people a boost of happiness that can become addictive, and therefore would convince humans to hunt these creatures down and then torture them. And it has to be like a mother and child pair in order to do it, because it's probably like the only thing that's pairing them together is the only way that it's strong enough that they'd be willing to sacrifice themselves like that.
But wait, does the child now feel happy when it watches its mother die?
I don't think so. Like, I think it might just affect humans in that way.
Probably.
It could give, like, the child a power boost, though.
Just enough to escape.
Possibly.
Or they would just throw this child, like, out into the wild, because it's like, okay, we don't need it anymore, bye.
Well, yeah, well, they want it to go have a life and then have a kid so they can capture it again.
Yeah.
Because maybe something about, like, trying to breed them just doesn't have the same effect as if they have a life in the wild.
Probably. I mean, I imagine they also would, like, I imagine them fighting back a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
I still trying to like get your drug to be docile and selective breeding it, which is something that humans would attempt to do, but it could be that the sense of like freedom and independence could be also directly linked to their power level and makes the drug better. The drug is better when it's natural than
yes.
if it's
And maybe
factory produced.
yes, maybe the happiness that their sparkles or whatever causes is linked to their happiness throughout their life. And so if they're free, they're going to be happier. And then they capture that, and then they essentially steal the happiness of these creatures for themselves when they kill them.
Which makes me think that they'd actually like blindfold the child so it doesn't realize what's happening. Like, I think the child would have to be blocked from the memories of the parent dying and just set into the wild without a parent.
Probably.
Because they don't want to traumatize
This is depressing.
generation's
Here's the thing. I was looking at this wow, this is such an epic creature. I wonder what sort of epic fantasy world we're going to create. And it's just all depressing.
This is me we're talking about. It was going to happen.
Yeah, but we don't always make depressing worlds.
Today we do. Look, I see this beautiful innocent creature, and all I can think of is, boy, would humans mess this creature up if they had a chance. Alright, that's just my first thoughts.
Yep.
We're horrible like that.
Anyway, we should try and figure out how this creature uses its fire magic. Does it breathe fire, or is it something else?
It doesn't look like the type of creature that would open its mouth for fire breath.
It doesn't. That's why I was thinking it would probably be something else.
I wonder, like, would it coming out of, like, the antlers be cool?
I was wondering about that. But so here's the thing. I was wondering if that would look really cool or really dumb.
Depends on who's animating it.
Probably. Maybe if it's, like, swirling and spiraling around the antlers.
Because I think it is more like that sparkle fire type, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it like spiraling and swirling around the antlers in each of the antler points. And then maybe it swings its head and that launches flames towards its opponent. Yeah.
I think having like, and then they could like use antler slingshots to fling it.
Antler slingshots.
Yeah, they have like the fire, and then they're able to like use the antlers to like guide fire in between them as slingshots.
That is way cooler than what I was envisioning, which was like a rubber band sort of set up between the two antlers being pulled back.
No. That's just something you could do with a normal deer if you want it.
Yeah, which is why I was like, why are you bringing up antler slingshots?
I was just describing a way that it could fling flames. I'm allowing the creature to have the fireball ability.
Yeah, I mean, you could also give it the ability to control, like, where it's going, almost like a remote control. I imagine, like, a sphere of fire, maybe even black fire, I don't know. It, like, in between the antlers, as a symbol to represent that they are controlling their fire, as their fire is floating around, almost like a drone or a little remote-controlled helicopter that they can guide.
I think it just follows their eyes. Because, again, like, their eyes are so directly connected to the flames. Like, just where they look is where it goes.
Can they see from it? Does it act like the Eye of Sauron?
Honestly, though, that'd be cool. Because, again, especially if, like, a great build-up of magic, like, the first thing to go is their eyesight, then it would make sense that, like, their eyesight could be connected to the flames.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why they lose their eyesight so fast is because they're being blinded by how much visuals they're getting from the flames inside of them. So what they're not actually blind, they're just stuck seeing inside themselves, which is the equivalent to being blind.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Which means they probably do have like eyes at the back of their head and stuff, because when they're charged, their like whole body is the flame, and they can just move their vision throughout their body and like have a full 360 spiral view if they're trained enough for it.
Yeah.
I think sounds cool. Without having 800 eyes all over them.
I have to wonder, what kind of traps would people set for these things? Because
that's the thing. They trap the young. It's all about capturing the child. And when... Yeah, but, like, using the child as bait. Like, I'm wondering if this is like a solo parent type thing. Like they have the kid and then the mom's just the only one watching the kid, and therefore they has to go off to get food and the kid gets left alone. Like it's just one of those type of animals. And therefore the kid could get captured and like lure the mom into a fireproof chamber thing that then bakes them alive.
That would probably be it. But if we're talking about one of these characters being the main character, you're gonna have to. These are smart creatures that aren't necessarily just gonna wander into a fireproof.
Well, we never said that these had. We were thinking about it, but the more we talk about it, the less I feel like they're main characters and that they are just the main plot for a main character. Like, a main character is very much against the killing of these creatures and is trying to stop it.
And it's trying to show the world that there are other ways to be happy, like caring for these creatures.
Yeah. But it could be also interesting if that's the same person struggling with a drug addiction to kill these creatures like deaths.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Like, they've gone into so many to try to like stop the deaths, but they're also still addicted to it and they're struggling with that.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I feel like we don't get enough of like people addiction stories from the point of view of the person who has the addiction but trying to stop others from also having it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So it could either be like someone whose parents trapped and therefore they got the addiction that way, or someone whose original intent was to stop them but in the process of stopping them got put into one too many of the scenarios of them dying and therefore developed the addiction from like at that outside force. Like they didn't want to develop it but they couldn't help it. So now they're faced with this. They feel like they can never be happy, but at the same time they don't want to kill the creatures. And then they find happiness in befriending the creatures instead. And learn that you can get that they can share their happiness with you without, having to kill them. We have a Monster Inc. Scenario.
Yes. Or a troll scenario.
I don't know how Trolls ended, so I can't.
The weird, ugly creatures that I don't remember the names of learned that they don't need to eat trolls to be happy.
So I'm literally just over here making the Trolls movie.
We're making a better version of the Trolls movie. Where clouds don't urinate on people.
I hope so. Oh, goodness.
That was Trolls.
And instead, we have the parents exploding and drugging an entire colony of people.
Yep. So much better. Pitch this to DreamWorks.
Oh, 100%. I don't think I want them to touch it.
Yeah, DreamWorks, you don't...
I don't think they do it justice.
DreamWorks, you have no idea what they're going to put out. They're always hit or miss, really.
I don't trust them to do like a story like this. Feels like it's definitely a sadder story, and it's more of like an emotional impact story. And I don't think DreamWorks just does too many kid jokes for this type of story.
Yeah. I mean, they gave us Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I feel like this would be a good like anime or something.
Probably this is probably more anime. Anime often will get heavier and like
I
cover
feel
more
like
dramatic.
anime could do this
Yeah.
well.
This is an anime story. Anime will get dark. Anime will delve into this territory.
And I think the art style would suit it too.
Yeah. Okay, so while we were talking, I've been working on something. One moment. I have set the antlers on fire.
Oh, look at that. That looks cool.
Yeah, it does work.
I think having the fire come through the antlers it would work.
I wasn't sure how it would look. I'm a fan. I say yes, antlers on fire.
Yeah, and now just imagine those flames rising up and just shooting at wherever the eyes are looking.
Ah, it's so terrifying.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean the journey of like this person who has like the addiction trying to befriend one of these creatures, I think is just a good story in itself. Like even outside the fact that the creatures are being hunted, just trying to gain the trust of creatures that have been hunted for so long for this purpose, but this person trying to befriend them to save them.
Yeah, and I imagine the creatures, like these creatures would probably not trust them. They'd be like, "Human, get away!"
I wouldn't.
Fireball.
Burn. I could also see like this person might have a connection because they raised an orphan one of these, Like, one of the parents died, and then they rescued the orphan, and instead of it just being sent back into the wild, she like hid it from her parents.
Ooh. That's an interesting idea. Conflict! Drama!
Yeah. And then the parents found out, and they got, like, separated from him. And so they had that drama, but then they get reunited at some point, and that's, like, her into these creatures' lives and getting to save them. But then, of course, the parents who hunt them discovers that their daughter is, or son or child is able to connect with these creatures, and they're like, ooh, easier way to capture them, and they take advantage of that and capture a whole bunch of them.
Easier way to be happy!
And now the child has to try to convince them that actually befriending them gives off the same magical happiness as not. So actually having them as pets might be the better option. Or having, like, a sanctuary space for them which people can visit and, like, spend a day feeding them or something like that would be the better option than killing them.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this. Like, there's only one thing I think we have left to world build.
What's that?
You know what it is.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, no, never mind. No.
Yeah, it's that time of the podcast where we spit out random name ideas. So, fire, deer, wolf. Sun, fire, deer, wolf thing. What does it get called? That produces happiness.
Upon death.
Upon death.
Or at least that's the people who would have named these creatures have thought.
You say a little strange thing, you could almost say it's like it's one word, and that's the name of the creature. Upon death. It's an upon death.
Upon death? I mean, I don't hate it.
I'm just thinking that is a strange origin for the name, but I don't hate it either. Upon death.
I don't hate
yeah.
it.
And then people will be like, well, where does that name come from? Well, you see, upon death of this creature, it creates happiness.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Surprisingly
yeah,
so.
I thought we were going to go through like 1,000 different really dumb options before we got to that. Okay, so it's an upon death.
Would it be spelled like something like that?
I was actually thinking it would start with an O. Even though like you starts with a, or upon starts with a U, the way I'm saying it, it sounds like it would start with an O, upon death.
Like
maybe
that?
2 P's, because otherwise that second O would say it, or the first O would, no? Does the first O say its name? Upon death. No, it doesn't say.
I don't like the second P.
It doesn't look spelled
good.
correctly in that instance. I think we'll just go with the second option for upon death.
Okay. So for those who don't have visuals, it's an O pond ith ith.
So there we go. We've just created a creature and we came up with a good name for it. Upon death.
Yeah, yes. Mostly you for the name.
Yeah, but I had your help when you said upon death. And I thought it sounded like one word.
Okay. I'll take it. But there you go. Another creature built. With a storyline and stuff. And this time we didn't make the creature the main character.
Yeah, we just made its life very depressing.
I'm sorry. Not really. But yeah, so we're gonna end it there. We'll be back next week with yet another prompt in another world as always. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.